65 supporters at the Amagansett home of financier Bruce Wasserstein and his wife Claude. Tomorrow afternoon, another 60 friends will dish out a reported $25,000 at a reception at the home of composer Jonathan Sheffer. And Saturday night, the coolest place in town is a cocktail party at the Amagansett home of Alec Baldwin and Kim Basinger. Some president watchers have even brought their children to East Hampton, hoping for a chance glimpse of the commander-in-chief. Still others wonder if Mr. Clinton should be raising money at a time like this.
I think he should probably be staying at home, working on the issues that he has to face on August 17th instead of raising money.
And clearly this trip is a getaway from all that turmoil in Washington. Besides the fundraising, the president and the first lady are expected to relax, possibly reading a good book, we're told, maybe walking on the beach and playing some golf. The president will be here through Sunday, and so will we, to make sure we cover his trip throughout Long Island, the Hamptons here in Long Island. I'm John Muller reporting live in the Hamptons. Back to you.
Okay, John, thanks. Before leaving for the Hamptons today, President Clinton appeared in the Rose Garden to announce the economy is the strongest in a generation. But you might guess that is not exactly what reporters were interested in. The president refused to answer any questions about his alleged affair with Monica Lewinsky, but he did make this statement.
No one wants to get this matter behind us more than I do, except maybe all the rest of the American people. I am looking forward to the opportunity in the next few days of testifying. I will do so completely.
And that was the president's first statement on the Lewinsky matter since announcing his decision to testify August 17th. The New York City policeman shot in the head last Sunday died early this morning at Staten Island's St. Vincent's Hospital. Officer Gerard Carter was 28 years old. The mayor says his death should prompt changes in the justice system. Tony Aiello reports.
He served the borough where he was born and patrolled the projects where some of his extended family live. Now the name of Officer Gerard Carter will be placed on the honor roll in the Memorial Garden at the West Brighton Housing Project.
I can't explain how I feel about that right now. It's terrible, really terrible.
I feel for his family. I really feel. I feel for him.
Doctors at St. Vincent's Hospital say Carter died at 1:06 Friday morning. He'd been here since Sunday night with a .45 caliber bullet lodged in his brain. Police say 17-year-old Shatik Johnson shot Carter at point-blank range as the officer and his partner approached to question him. Johnson got out of juvenile detention in April after serving less than 2 years for killing a homeless man. Police say Johnson killed a rival gang member just 10 days before shooting Officer Carter.
If this doesn't motivate us to change this system of juvenile justice, parole, and everything else, I don't know what else will. And I hope that this terrible tragedy turns into something that protects police officers more than what we're doing right now.
The mayor called Carter an exceptional officer, praise echoed by the commander for Staten Island.
Officer Carter himself was young, but he was young in age only. He was a mentor to many folks older than him, and also to the younger cops coming up.
Carter also worked closely with young people in the projects, trying to be a role model for troubled teens, such as the alleged shooter. Instead, he became a target.
It's a really heartbreaking thing, you know, that a life was lost in a line of duty, and that a young man probably have to go away for a long time for committing murder.
Heartbreaking, too, that a banner made for a get-well vigil will hang instead at a memorial service. Tony Aiello, News Channel 4.
Gerard Carter's survivors include his mother, his brother, and a 6-year-old son. Although the suspect is charged with attempted murder, that will be upgraded to murder next week. But because he is just 17, he will not face the death penalty.
We have late news concerning Sante and Kenneth Kimes, the prime suspects in the disappearance of a Manhattan millionaire. News Channel 4's Andrew Glassman is live outside the offices of the Manhattan District Attorney with more. Andrew?
There were charges announced down here today against Kenneth and Sante Kimes, but these charges have nothing to do with the disappearance of Irene Silverman. However, they will enable authorities in New York to keep the Kimeses in New York while the Silverman investigation continues. Today, the Kimeses were charged with credit card fraud, 17 counts of forgery in the second degree, and criminal possession of a forged instrument. The DA says they obtained the credit card of a Florida man and used it on 4 occasions for drinks or dinner at the Pierre Hotel, and on 3 occasions for drinks or dinner at the Park Lane Hotel, charging several $100s in the days before Irene Silverman disappeared. Sante Kimes is also charged with using the card to purchase items from the Chanel store. Again, these are allegations that they had the credit credit card of a Florida man without his permission and were using it here in New York. The DA says the Kimeses are still being investigated for the disappearance of Irene Silverman.
This is just part of a continuing investigation. And over a period of time, there are a number of other alleged crimes which will be presented to this grand jury.
I can assure you that we have a very large team of some of the best detectives that this city has working on this case. The case is continuing. The case is in high gear. The case will remain in high gear until we find out what happened to Mrs. Silverman.
Now, each of these 17 counts of credit card fraud carries a penalty, a maximum of 7 years in prison, and the Kimeses will be brought before a judge sometime next month. But this raises an interesting possibility. Granted, they are lesser charges than murder or kidnapping or forgery, and the question was asked, if they're brought before a judge on credit card fraud, is it possible that they will make bail? The DA said that he believes, given the Kimeses' history of allegedly traveling around the country, that he will be able to petition a judge to keep them behind bars while the Silverman investigation continues. That's the latest from Lower Manhattan. Andrew Glassman, News Channel 4, reporting live.
Thanks, Andrew. Well, police want to know who is responsible for anti-Semitic graffiti found painted on the walls of Oceanside High School. Police say the graffiti was painted between 11 last night and 5 this morning. Various swastikas and KKK slurs were sprayed in black letters on the front and rear of the Skillman Avenue School, as well as on 14 neighboring cars. Detectives are requesting anyone with knowledge of the incident to call Crime Stoppers.
The former chairman of Lilco, William Catacasinos, has resigned from his new job under pressure. Catacasinos took a $42 million severance payment from Lilco when the company merged with MarketSpan several months ago. Well, since then, he's been under pressure from stockholders, board members, and politicians to step down as MarketSpan's chairman. Governor Pataki also backed the resignation. We will have full details on the resignation on News Channel 4 at 6 o'clock.
On this Getaway Friday, let's go up to Chopper 4. Dave Steckel is over Orchard Beach. Dave?
All right, we're over Orchard Beach in the Bronx scene, as you said, and what we're coming in on here is a sewage spill. A 36-inch main broke in the Hutchinson River pump station last night. And right now, authorities are expecting about 2 million gallons of semi-treated sewage. Now, it has only been chlorinated so far. Will reach Long Island Sound before this whole thing is wrapped up. And as you can see, it runs across the shoreline. We're going to take it a little bit over to the right here and show you Orchard Beach itself. Now, this is in the Bronx, of course, right across from City Island. There it is coming into view over on the right side of your screen. And you can see some of the other slicks that are coming in here and some of this sewage. Now, right now, the health department doesn't think that it is much of a health risk, but what it is the beach is closed to swimmers. No swimmers allowed. There are some people out on the beach. We have seen some boats drive through here as well, but it is not a good situation. You should stay away from here as much as you possibly can. There's another one of the slicks, and as you come in on the bottom of your screen, there is Orchard Beach. No swimmers. Live from Chopper 4, I'm Dave Steckel. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Dave. Today marks 1 week since the Capitol Hill shooting that took the lives of 2 Capitol Hill police officers. The second of those officers was laid to rest with full military honors in a place reserved for heroes. Here's Pat Collins with more.
The service, stirring. The turnout, extraordinary. The procession went on for miles and miles. Capitol Police Officer J.J. Chestnut buried today with high honors. Hundreds and hundreds of law enforcement officers to pay tribute to Officer Chestnut. It was on this day 1 week ago. He was gunned down, ambushed while at his post inside the Capitol of the United States.
The mark of his character was his integrity, his decency, and his dedication. It was not the way that he died that made him a hero. It was the way that he lived.
The songs were strong, the minister's words powerful, but when Officer Chestnut's daughter spoke, when she spoke, it was special.
Before he was this hero of democracy, before a door was named after him, before he was the first African American to be laid in state, before he was mourned all over the world, he was neighbor, friend, husband, and to me, he was daddy.
Officer J.J. Chestnut, buried this afternoon at Arlington Cemetery. He was a retired Master Sergeant from the Air Force and an 18-year veteran of the U.S. Capitol Police.
Today at the doorway where the shooting started, Capitol staff members observed 13 seconds of silence because surveillance tape shows that's how long the shooting lasted.
Coming up next on Live at 5, the number cannot be completed as dialed.
Find out why dialing phone numbers in Manhattan is going to become a confusing task.
All children have nightmares, but how can you tell if your child is struggling with something more serious?
And in medical news, encouraging news from the war on cancer, an experimental drug for prostate cancer with limited side effects. We'll be right back.
With the White House pushing for tougher privacy laws on the internet, Vice President Al Gore announced what he's calling an electronic Bill of Rights. The bill protects families from being the targets of fraud on the internet by allowing them to guard any personal information that's given out. The measure would also prevent companies from collecting personal information on kids under 13. Children are often tricked into giving out personal information online by animated characters and games designed to retrieve data.
Well, if you don't already have enough numbers to remember, New York City is about to pick up another area code. And this new code comes with an interesting twist that has some people bracing for a dialing disaster. News Channel 4's John Noel has the story.
During the past 4 years, the number of telephone lines in New York City has tripled. As a result, the city is running out of telephone numbers. That's why New York is getting a new area code, 646. It's scheduled to go into effect April 1st, just in Manhattan. But instead of splitting the borough into 2 area codes, the plan is to give 646 to all new Manhattan telephone numbers. However, the change will bring 11-digit dialing to Manhattan. Not only will you have to dial the area code when calling between 646 and 212, when dialing within the same area code, you'll have to dial the area code. This is what's called an area code overlay, when you take a new area code and put it over an existing area code. And federal regulations require that anytime you do that, everyone in the affected area has to dial an area code, no matter where they're calling.
No, it's ridiculous. I got enough numbers in my mind. I can't even remember my Social Security number. I got to remember a new number to call. Forget it.
It's a lot, but it's not a lot of labor. You know, it's just your fingers dialing a number, you know, so you get used to it, I'm pretty sure.
A lot of states throughout the country now are going to 11-digit dialing, so it's not really new. It's something that's happening across the industry and across the nation.
New York City first introduced the 212 area code to the dialing public in 1947. In 1985, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island went 718. The Bronx followed in 1993. Not only does Manhattan get 646 next year, but there are plans for a 347 area code in Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island next year as well. John Noel, News Channel 4.
Now, if you look at the numbers 646 on your telephone, you will see that they correspond to the letters MHN, Manhattan.
I wonder how that's going to take. Next on Live at 5, will there be peanuts?
NASA shows us what commercial airplanes of the future are going to look like and why they'll make it easier to live near airports.
Al Roker takes us on a field trip to meet the king of Corona. He's got cold hands, but a warm personality. And Janice Huff has Al covered on the forecast.
Thanks, Myriam. We'll all need to cover up a little bit more tonight. As cooler, drier air is coming in, I'll have the forecast. First, we'll check on our Bell Atlantic neighborhood WeatherNet station out of Yorktown High School in Yorktown Heights, where it's 81 degrees. You had just under a quarter of an inch of rainfall. Your morning low was 66, but tonight more like 56. I'll have the details in the forecast coming up next on Live at 5.
Between NASA and the aerospace industry, Americans will soon be flying into the future. From supersonic travel to highways in the sky to flying wings, NASA is developing the next generation of airplanes. These lighter, quieter, more environmentally correct planes, some as long as a football field, are part of several projects by NASA's Agate program. We could likely see the aircrafts complete by the year 2015. Can you imagine?
As long as a football field.
Can you imagine? That's a lot of people, a lot of passengers, but a lot of people. Yeah.
You have a nice forecast, don't you?
Great flying weather. Absolutely. It's going to be a beautiful weekend, and we'll all get to enjoy some comfortably cool temperatures. I'll tell you more about that as we look outside right now. A live view from our Skycam. There's a night. Oh, no, it's Chopper 4. Out and about around the city and elsewhere, and they're out near the shore there. It looks nice out. Mostly sunny. Our temperature right now is a very comfortable 80 degrees, thanks to that cold front passing through last night and this morning. Winds out of the north now at 3 miles per hour. Relative humidity at 51%. That'll be going a little bit lower even tomorrow. The pressure is falling a bit. It's right at 30 inches, even keel. It's falling just a little bit, but we expect it to rise as we go through the weekend. Here's a check of the weather almanac for today. It was quite a nice day. We had some showers, of course, in the past 24 hours. 80 the high today, 64 the morning low. Below normal temperatures, 1/3 of an inch of rain at Central Park. The record high for this date, 102 in 1933. The record low, 57 in 1914. And tonight, a lot of areas will be in the 50s. Temperatures right now in the 70s and 80s. 71, though, at Stamford, Connecticut. Still some scattered clouds left over behind the front, so there are some cooler temperatures here and there. But the front and the rain has moved offshore. We don't have to worry about that for the weekend. We will have high pressure dominating, pushing right through, bringing us bright blue skies all the way through tomorrow and into Sunday. Sunday even sunnier than tomorrow. Look at the Northeast. This is going to be a fabulous weekend. Tomorrow all across the and up and down the eastern seaboard. Wonderful conditions, lots of sunshine from Pittsburgh to the Poconos. Temperatures in the upper 70s in the Catskills. Cape Cod 74, even down to Washington, D.C., where it's been very, very hot the past couple of days. 83 for a high tomorrow with just some scattered clouds. There's our tropical storm, Alex. It's moving toward the west about 12 miles per hour, expecting it to weaken just a bit as it runs to some slightly cooler water and maybe downgraded to a tropical depression. Winds at 40 miles an hour. You can see it is far to the east of Puerto Rico and the Leeward Islands, and it should stay that way. By Sunday, you can see that it'll still be well to the east of the Bahamas and much of the Caribbean. So it's moving off to the north, and we shouldn't have too many problems with it. Maybe some swells over the islands, but we're not expecting it to make any direct hits on any of the islands. Here's our forecast for the tri-state area for tonight. Clear and cool, and 62 in the city. Wow, that's going to feel great. And some upper 40s maybe. Far north and west of the city, and up north of maybe Ulster County and to the west into Pennsylvania. Mostly sunny in the morning, 74 around 9 a.m. and tomorrow afternoon's high, 85 degrees with low humidity. And wait till Sunday, even nicer. I'll have that in the 5-day coming up a little bit later.
Wow. Great. Thanks, Janice. Sure.
How about some dessert?
Yum.
How about some?
It's okay if you haven't had dinner yet, because we cannot wait to sample the lemon ices made by the King of Corona. Here's a taste of a News Channel 4 special with Al Roker on the royalty of Queens.
While we may be in Queens, we are here at the King of lemon ice in Corona. Let's go inside to his palace and meet his royal iceness. And ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the King, the lemon ice King of Corona, Pete Benfarimo. Pete, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Feeling good?
I know I'm the real king.
How do you know that?
Well, because the mountain came to Muhammad. I don't know.
So, Pete, how long have you guys been here?
54 years.
54 years.
54.
What made you decide to start doing ices?
No, I didn't do the ices. My dad started it.
Your dad started the ices?
I was overseas in the army, and he wrote me a letter and told me that he was making ices. And
come on, bring the ices out. We don't want to stand in the way of the ices.
I didn't even know what he was talking about. So when I get back, he says, come on in. It's okay, let's try. And I've been here ever since. 54 years.
54 years. Now, when you first started, when you opened up 54 years ago, how many flavors?
2 flavors.
2 flavors.
Lemon and pineapple.
So go ahead. Here.
I got used to pineapple.
Right.
And so now that's become my favorite.
Right. Now, how many flavors you got now?
29.
29 flavors. That's 3 better than what was that? Howard Johnson's.
Well,
they only had 26.
No, they had what? They had 26.
Yeah,
27,
something like that.
Yeah.
So you got what kind of flavors you got now?
Well, we got some oddballs like mint, peanut butter, water.
Peanut butter ices? That doesn't sound. That doesn't roll off the tongue.
Oh,
is it a popular seller?
Very popular.
Really?
Very, very popular.
Wow. Now, so from the time you started in this neighborhood, how has it changed in 54 years?
The immediate section here has not changed at all because it's commercial.
Well, Pete obviously doesn't believe in early retirement. To hear more from him and other Queens characters, tune in this Sunday at noon for Al Roker's 2-hour special, The Royalty of Queens, right here on NBC4.
I know what I'm going to do after the show. Get a lemon ice.
Next on Live at 5, the monster under the bed.
How to tell if your child's nightmares are a symptom of serious emotional turmoil.
And Jeffrey Lyons reviews a new Cinderella movie that is not for little girls. Drew Barrymore brings chutzpah to the role in Ever After.
Coming up on News Channel 4 at 6. He came under fire for taking a $42 million golden parachute. Now, a former Lilco executive succumbs to pressure from stockholders, the public, even the governor. Details coming up. Plus, a 2-for-1 special tonight. We'll tell you about a baby boom that has doctors and parents seeing double. Also, there's a new phone function that lets you track down callers who harass you. We'll ask Asa about it and what it will cost you. And we'll tell you about customer service improvements at Newark Airport when Chuck and I see you at 6.
Well, everyone has a bad dream now and then. For children, nightmares can be extra scary.
And if their dream keeps recurring, it could be a sign of serious anxiety. Hillary Lane has more on what parents should look out for and how they should respond.
Laura is 8 years old, tucked in with a kiss goodnight and a wish for sweet dreams. But as parents know, not every dream can be a good one.
I would say it's pretty much universal that a child will occasionally have a bad dream or a nightmare.
The key word, occasionally.
Well, typically, if a nightmare tends to recur or occur very frequently, typically over a 1 to 2 month period if it keeps going on, then it's time to consider that there's a problem that needs to be checked out.
Also to consider what the dream's about.
Take a child where their dream has content of something that the child should have no knowledge of. For example, a 4 or 5-year-old whose dream has very sexual content.
That's a potential problem. But sometimes content is simply a reflection of what the child has seen during the day or on TV.
Children also, prior to the age of 12, are very concrete thinkers, and they have no ability to divide the real from the unreal. So a cartoon to a 5-year-old may be very real, and that can be manifested in their dreams.
Timing is yet another factor. Nightmares tend to occur in the second half of the night, so-called sleep terrors in the first.
The children are generally inconsolable, and it's very important that parents don't try to restrain them, or the important thing is actually just to stay away, and the child typically settles down and goes back to sleep on their own.
And though it is a topic of debate, psychiatrist Rebecca Tomzik says the child should go back to sleep in his or her own bed. Hillary Lane, NBC News.
Now, when a problem is evident, the first line of defense should be the child's pediatrician. The doctor can help you decide if your child needs to visit a sleep lab for additional monitoring.
Let's go back up to Chopper 4 now. Dave Steckel is out over the Jackie Robinson Parkway in Queens. Dave?
That's right, Dean. This is eastbound. You can see the left lane is blocked off. It's a 5-car collision. As you saw a little bit earlier when we were a little bit further out, there was an ambulance here. Good news here, though. We have not seen anybody been tended to so far. You can see there's the first 2 cars in the pileup. They are still pretty close together. As we pan back and take a look at the next one, that dark-colored car, if you look really close, right where that man with the blue shirt and the blue jeans is standing, some debris all over the roadway. So his front bumper and the lights got messed up as well. Then we've got that red Honda, and then right behind it, we take it back to another dark-colored car, and if you take a look real close, the hood is pushed in pretty well. As we pull it back a little bit, you can see that that Jackie Robinson Parkway going eastbound by Cypress Hill Street, all backed up. You might want to try the Grand Central instead. Live from Chopper 4, I'm Dave Steckel. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Dave. Mom, there's nothing to do. Are you hearing that one around the house?
Just ahead, summer toys to keep the kids wet but occupied. Find out which ones work the way they're supposed to.
And later, how smokers would react to an increase in cigarette prices. Well, the start of school is still a month away, but maybe you're already running out of ways to keep the kids entertained.
Consumer reporter Roseanne Colletti is here with some action summer toys that you may have overlooked.
Well, you may have. Now, when put to the kid test, some toys came out clear winners. They're usually water toys, and they don't have to give your pocketbook a soaking.
The Consumer Reports magazine for kids, Zillions, had youngsters like these try out summer toys to see which were the most fun. Overall, water toys got the highest fun scores. This Super Soaker CPS 1500 costing $25 was a big hit. You fill it up, pump it up 10 to 20 times, and let loose.
It super soaks you.
But at 10 pounds fully loaded, it's a little hard to handle for some. Another big hit was this Wild Water Weapon Speed Loader 1500, costing $20. You load it by attaching it to a hose. Kids like to load it as much as shoot it. But a common complaint was its smaller water tank.
They fill up a little bit in one squirt and it's all gone.
The testers really liked the idea of this cyber splash when they saw it in the box. It's laser tag with water or without. Flip a switch to get sprayed or not sprayed when you're hit by a laser. But it only got a fun score of fair, and it was expensive at $40. Testers found it hard to hit the target and unreliable if it really got soaked.
You got to squirt it like that, and sometimes it don't even work.
A big favorite for only $10, this wet disc. Kids aim it at each other and try to catch it.
You could soak it, and then when you threw it, you get all wet.
Getting hit with it or soaking it was half the fun.
They look like they had a great time. Now, once again, the toys that received a fun score of very good are the following. The Super Soaker CPS 1500 for $25, the Wild Water Weapon Speed Loader for $20, and the Wet Disc, a bargain at $10. Be sure to use only clear water in water toys. Remember that, and be sure to teach your kids to avoid shooting at each other's eyes.
Yeah, those things are under some high pressure.
Sometimes, and they shouldn't be too close and definitely not around the face.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that.
When Live at 5 can do. Oops, I'm sorry.
My turn, Dean.
I'm sorry.
New Jersey's Pick 6 lottery failed to produce a grand prize winner last night. The jackpot inches up to $2.5 million for Monday, and tomorrow's New York Lotto jackpot weighs in at $4 million. Of course, to find out if you're a winner, just stay right here each and every night. We bring you all the winning tri-state lottery numbers on News Channel 4 at 11. Now your turn.
Well, after Powerball, they all just pale. When Live at 5 continues, Leonardo comes through for a paralyzed gymnast.
Jeffrey Lyons reviews Ever After, the new movie that turns Drew Barrymore into Cinderella, and Bruce Beck is in for Len with sports.
Myriam, heavy trading on Wall Street today with the Dow dropping 143 points, but no blue chip trades to report yet in Major League Baseball. So coming up in sports, we'll have the story of a horse owner who turned chance into fortune and who hopes for more good luck this weekend at the Meadowlands. That's just ahead on Live at 5.
What would you rather do? Clean shrimp at a fishery or move to Hollywood and become a big movie star? Thanks to actor Anthony Quinn, that's the decision an 11-year-old Brazilian girl has to make. She was part of a crowd watching Quinn film a movie when the actor approached her, believing that she was apparently someone that he'd known in an earlier life. Quinn has invited the child to move to the United States and live with his family and vows to make her a star. The child's mother, who owns the fishery, is mulling it over. Please, Mommy, please. Get ready for Cinderella like you've never seen her before. The newest version of the fairy tale about a kind-hearted girl oppressed by her wicked stepmother is taking on a 90s twist. This Cinderella fights back. It's called Ever After, starring Drew Barrymore, and it opens in theaters today. Here's Jeffrey Lyons' review.
How many ways can you retell an old fairy tale, beloved over the centuries? Well, the newest version of Cinderella is called Ever After, and it stars an unlikely actress as the princess-to-be. And the result is nothing short of, well, something very special indeed. You wouldn't think Drew Barrymore to play Cinderella, considering the passive heroine Disney created in our minds growing up in his animated masterpiece years ago. But this Cinderella is assertive. She's self-assured and able to handle almost anything in her mostly miserable life. After mistaking the wife-hunting Prince of France for a thief before realizing who he is, she must deal with her evil stepmother. She's superbly played by Oscar winner Angelica Houston, who here blames Cinderella for an unexpected visit from the prince.
How dare you let him surprise us like that?
I'm sorry.
Luckily for you, Marguerite turned in a beautiful performance. She and the prince had quite an interlude.
Now, the stepmother, as we all remember, wants to marry off her older daughter to the prince, but he has eyes for Cinderella. And the prince, played by Dougray Scott, is impressed by Cinderella's zest for life.
How do you do it?
What?
Live each day with this kind of passion. Don't you find it exhausting?
Only when I'm around you.
Of course, the movie is true to the story in that there's a big gala at the palace. In this case, a Renaissance palace in France. Cinderella, helped not by Disney's singing mice, but by, of all people, Leonardo da Vinci, note the wings on her costume, shows up just in time in a fetching gown. A Cinderella for the 90s in Ever After, and another movie for fathers to take their daughters to see and savor. I'm Jeffrey Lyons, News Channel 4.
Well, the Chinese gymnast paralyzed by a fall got her wish yesterday, a visit from heartthrob Leonardo DiCaprio. Today, she began rehabilitation treatment at Mount Sinai Hospital. 17-year-old Sang Lan suffered a paralyzing neck injury when she fell at the Goodwill Games. Last night, DiCaprio spent an hour with the gymnast in a room at Mount Sinai.
Well, I wasn't there, but I was told that her eyes lit up and her face lit up, and they had enormously animated discussions through an interpreter.
Lan will receive rehabilitative care over the next several weeks. Doctors say the goal is to make her as self-sufficient as possible. Well, Bruce Beck is in for Len Berman tonight, and it is trade day.
We're getting close. The sand in the hourglass empties, but Randy Johnson is still a Mariner. Will he be traded to the Yankees? We'll get some insight at 6 with a live report from Seattle. Some trades today. Ellis Burks goes to the Giants. Juan Guzman to Baltimore. Todd Stottlemyre, Royce Clayton, Todd Zeile to Texas. Now from the trade story to a story of hope, dreams, and chance. His horse Shania shoots for a Breeders' Crown title tomorrow. His name is Chance Bird. It couldn't be more fitting. He has experienced good fortune, winning the lottery, and he has endured heartbreak, such as the day as a 13-year-old an off-road vehicle accident left him with a fractured skull and in need of a miracle.
I laid in a coma for a while, was paralyzed, and came out. Then they put me on rehabilitation, and it took me quite a while to get through that. It took me 2 years to learn how to walk a straight line.
Incredibly, Chance Bird recovered, and although the memories lingered, it left him with a new attitude on life.
I live every day like it's the last day. Since I've laid in a coma and have been as close as you can get to being dead.
Things sometimes even out. And for Chance Berg, the score was settled by a $12 million winning ticket in the Illinois lottery. His fortune enabled him to enter the harness racing scene, where good luck has followed. And this weekend, his mare pacer, Shania, who has won 5 of 7 races this year, guns for one of harness racing's most coveted prize, a Breeders' Crown Championship.
Shania getting up to take it. It comes down to the luck of the draw and who gets the breaks in the trip. It's going to win it. If I don't, it ain't the end of the world.
Shania, named after country singer Shania Twain, is listed at odds of 9-2 to win the mare pace tomorrow, but I like her chances.
I was wondering if that's who she was named after.
That's right. You got it, Myriam.
Thanks.
Now you've got the word from the Jets camp, too.
Big news from Jets camp. Marvin Jones of the Jets lost for the year, torn ACL in his left knee. Tough news for the Jets.
Okay. Thanks, Bruce. Brian Williams is in for Tom Brokaw tonight. Let's see what he's planning for Nightly News. Brian?
All of us are suffering right along with Coach Tuna as well. When the bad news is for the Jets, it's bad for all New York football fans. Dean, thank you very much. From Washington tonight, we will have the latest, some exclusive and late details on the investigation into the president. Also, the angle of this investigation that has to do with DNA testing going on right now behind closed doors at the FBI crime lab in Washington. With this economy so good, even when the growth rate slows down, everybody gets worried. That's exactly what happened today. Mike Jensen will walk us through what it might mean for the future. And a special section of our broadcast tonight devoted to this home selling market right now, the gold mine a lot of Americans are sitting right on top of, and how long will it last? That and more. We join you for NBC Nightly News, 6:30 here on Channel 4. Myriam Dean, back to you.
Okay, Brian, thanks. Coming up next on Live at 5, this strikes for you, a possible walkout at Budweiser breweries.
And the changing price of breakfast cereal. This time it's news you can use.
Coming up on News Channel 4 at 6.
Coming up at 6, the former Loco executive who came under fire for taking a $42 million severance payment gives in to pressure from the public and the governor. Plus, is she on the road to a comeback? We're on the Senate trail with Senate hopeful Geraldine Ferraro, and don't get taken over the phone, ask Asa.
Mysterious calls, mysterious telephone bills. Are they too mysterious for you? Well, I'll show you how to fight back.
When Michele and I see you at 6.
Well, here's a good indication of what sort of a month it's been on Wall Street. When the time came to ring the closing bell at the New York Exchange this afternoon, take a look. Well, maybe they can put it back together. Kind of a fitting end to the day. Here's a look at the closing numbers. The Dow Jones Industrials down 143 points, down to 883 and change. And the NASDAQ Composite also finishing sharply lower, almost 47 points to the downside. The NASDAQ, full of technology stocks, it's down to 1872. Now, over the past 5 days, the loss for the Dow is 54 points. But since setting an all-time high just 2 weeks ago, the Dow has given back 55 points. Now, taking a look at what's happening with your money, the great job-creating machine known as the U.S. economy was running a little rough during the second quarter. Economic growth slowed dramatically, hurt mostly by a big drop in exports to Asia. But another big factor in the slowdown was the strike against GM. That alone took a full percentage point out of the economy's growth rate. Another well-known company may be facing a strike before long. For the second time in as many months, the Teamsters Union has rejected a contract offer from Anheuser-Busch, the big brewer. The main issue is job security, and the union has already been authorized by its rank and file to call a strike. The Teamsters represent workers at a dozen Busch breweries around the country, including one in Newark, New Jersey. Well, what's bad for shareholders may be good for cereal eaters. Kellogg announced today its earnings are likely to be sharply lower this year, and as a result, it is considering cutting prices on some of its cereal brands. Kellogg would not say which brands or how much prices might fall, but it did say there are no plans for an across-the-board cut in prices.
Janice is back with the lovely weekend forecast.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to start out with the pollen count for you, though, and the mold spores are on the high side. That number is 2,590, thanks to Jamaica Hospital for our pollen report. UV forecast, the number tomorrow, 8 on a scale of 0 to 10. The burn time, only 10 minutes. Slather on that sunscreen. Wear a hat while you're out there tomorrow. Be a little cool along the shore tomorrow. Oh, that is the air temperature. Water temperature, though, will be nice between 65 and 74 degrees. Waves 2 to 3 feet over the ocean, 1 foot over the sound. Here's your shore report. Temperatures upper 70s in the Hamptons to the low 80s from Point Pleasant to Atlantic City. Follow the bouncing beach ball. It'll be nice along the shore down in Florida even. 92 in Miami, maybe a thunderstorm in the afternoon. There goes Dallas again, 103. No change in sight. And in the Caribbean, highs in the 90s, maybe some scattered afternoon and evening thunderstorms. And that tropical storm is staying well to the east for now. Here's your 5-day forecast. On Saturday, 85 here. Sunday, 87, full sunshine, and 80s continue for the rest of the week with not much of a chance for rain except for Tuesday. And the nights, next couple of nights, down into the 50s in a lot of spots. Woo! Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
You too.
Thanks, Janice. Thanks, Janice. Coming up next in News for Your Health, a European drug that curbs the urge to drink. Should it be on the market here?
Plus, an experiment being done in New York with a new prostate cancer drug. We'll be right back.
Closed captioning on News Channel 4 live at 5. Brought to you by your local Toyota dealers.
Let's go back up to Chopper 4, hovering over the Lincoln Tunnel.
All right, what you're looking at there, Myriam, is the inbound traffic right over by the toll plaza. Very, very heavy delays. Live from Chopper 4, I'm Dave Steckel. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Dave. In News for Your Health tonight, raising the price of cigarettes could really cut down on the number of smokers. Government researchers predict 1 out of every 8 smokers would quit or at least cut back if the price of a pack of cigarettes rose 50%. The study by the Center for Disease Control says 3.5 million of the nation's 47 million smokers would quit, with young minorities most likely to break the habit.
A widely used European drug designed to fight alcoholism is being tested right here in the U.S., but not everyone thinks it's a great idea. The drug would be sold here under the brand name Compral. It treats alcoholism without the side effects of other available drugs. But the Times reports some specialists advocate drug-free treatment, saying that counseling alone is the best weapon for America's 13.7 million alcoholics. The French drug maker hopes to have Compral available in 2 years.
About 350,000 American men are diagnosed with prostate cancer each year. A new treatment being tested here in New York seems to be remarkably free of side effects. And as Dr. Max Gomez tells us, it seems to be working by making the cancer cells commit suicide.
That's right, Dean. You know, actually all cells commit a sort of suicide. They divide a certain number of times and then die. The trick is getting cancer cells to do that, since the cancer's primary characteristic is continued uncontrolled growth and division. Now, an experimental drug may be able to get cancer cells to die off just like normal cells. Larry Potlow is a pretty healthy retired television producer who found out about a year ago that he had cancer of the prostate.
My doctor just did during a normal physical and said he felt something. And from that, I went to another doctor. They took their own and both found out that there was some sort of a growth on the prostate.
After having his cancerous prostate surgically removed, Larry was doing fine until just recently when his PSA blood test numbers indicated that the cancer might be coming back. That's when Larry enrolled in a clinical trial for this drug called FGN1. It's a somewhat different approach to cancer, containing it rather than trying to kill it off entirely.
Well, it seems to keep it in check. It doesn't seem to make the cancer go away, but it seems to keep it at the same size as it was when the drug is started, or to have it grow much more slowly than it would have before.
FGN1 does this by increasing something called apoptosis, a kind of pre-programmed cellular suicide that all cells eventually undergo. The good news is that FGN1 seems to do this while it leaves normal cells pretty much alone.
Nothing.
Side effects, no other problems, patients?
No, no difficulties breathing, no fevers, no rashes, really not much else. No ulcers or kidney toxicity.
Even though Larry doesn't know whether he's taking the drug or a placebo, his PSA has gone down and he's had no problems.
I just take my 4 pills a day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening. Don't know what I'm taking, but it hasn't affected me in any negative manner.
Now, the hope is that FGN1 can turn aggressive prostate cancer into a slow-growing or even an almost dormant tumor. It's still there, just not bothering the patient. Doctors at Columbia Presbyterian's Allen Pavilion are looking for men who have had radical prostatectomies for their cancer to enroll in the FGN1 trial. It will be another year or so, though, before we have an answer as to its effectiveness. But the preliminary studies and animal studies showed a lot of promise, so we'll see.
Right.
Okay. Thanks, Max.
You bet. Well, that is Live at 5 for this week. Thank you for watching.
Tune in on Monday after the People's Court when we'll look at back-to-school computers for under $1,000.
Now, here are Chuck Scarborough and Michele Marsh with News Channel 4 at 6.